we got to get people to buy homes and find people like Brock. Okay, Brock, let's continue talking about 2023, or if you're pretty well done with that, we can move on to 2024. But what are some of the other things besides interest rates? I mean, that was the biggest thing. And I'm glad to hear that you're really feeling like it's going to loosen up for 2024. But in 2023, how many people met their goals? And I have been hearing that people are kind of stuck because if they're in a low interest rate situation now with these higher rates, they're kind of like in a bind, especially younger families. Is that true?
Well, I mean, yeah, if you've, if you have an interest rate, at an extreme low place, like 2 to 3%, that might really affect your decision of whether you move to a new place or not. The reality is if you have a 3-bedroom home and you have 4 or 5 kids, you're going to end up moving. That 3-bedroom home is not going to be big enough. And so you're going to end up probably buying something new. You're going to end up with a higher interest rate. What I always recommend to clients is if your position in life dictates that you need to make a move, do it. Make the move and simply refinance to a lower interest rate when they come down. So, I mean, I can transition a little bit into 2024 because I think this is what's going to happen. So the Fed has said, based on the new numbers, that what they have done has worked. And so they're predicting that inflation is going to be at or below 3% as we head into 2024. And subsequently, they'll start to relieve the pressure on interest rates. Would not surprise me at all if we're somewhere between 5 and 6% on a 30-year fixed interest rate by the time we get to midsummer. Now, for those of you who are not blown away by that, that's a good interest. We're probably never going to get back down to 2 or 3%. You have to remember that was artificially created to help us get through the pandemic, right? That's the only reason we ever saw interest rates at that low. It was to get us through the pandemic. So not going to happen again. An interest rate at 5 or 6% is a good interest rate, right? So getting back to that's a big win. And the reason that you don't want to wait to buy is because of the inventory, values continue to go up. So if you're sitting on the sidelines, not buying a new home because you're waiting for rates to go down, that home value is going to go up 4 or 5% per year, probably in the meantime. So you're just waiting to pay more for the same home. You're better off just to buy it now and refinance when the rates come down. I mean, if you work through the math, that's the best way to do it.
That is such good advice, and I appreciate you
Let's,
sharing
in
that
case
with
people
us.
just joined us,
And they're just jumping in their car and or listen to us or whatever. Please just reiterate what you just said about the interest rates and where you see things going, and we'll just continue that thread. Please go right ahead.
Yeah. So the measures that the Fed has taken, they control our monetary policy. The raising of interest rates that they've done has caused inflation to be pushed down. And when the numbers come out near the end of the year, we're going to see that inflation is down near about 3%, that it worked. And then you're going to start seeing them lower the interest rates. Eventually that will have an effect on mortgages. And I think by the time we get to June or so, we're going to see interest rates at somewhere in the 5 or 6% range. Now, I can't really say for sure how many transactions we're going to see on a nationwide level. And here's why. This is a major concern that you're hearing about. Consumer debt is at an all-time high in the United States, predominantly credit card. That's troubling. That's very troubling. Now, it's not going to have a tremendous effect on foreclosures. As a matter of fact, we're going to have virtually no foreclosures, and here's why. About 35% of all Americans own their home free and clear now. That's the first thing.
35%.
Yep. And over 60% of Americans have more than $50,000 of equity in their home. So, real estate values have gone up about 39% since the start of COVID, and people have equity, right? People have equity in their home. So for those of you that are thinking we're going to see a big foreclosure thing, it's just not going to happen. The only way somebody can get foreclosed on in the world we live in right now is if pride and ego got in the way. Because if
What?
you have a lot of equity in your home and you're not making your payments, you're probably going to sell before you get foreclosed on.
Oh, I see.
You're not going to ride that horse, into the ground. You're eventually going to sell, and you're going to pay off that mortgage, and you might go to an apartment or something, but you're not going to get foreclosed on, right? You got too much equity. Values aren't going down. The whole thing that happened way back when is values went down. People lost their jobs. They couldn't make their payments. They couldn't sell their home for what they owed on them. They got foreclosed on. So we're just not in that kind of an economic environment. But I do know we're going to see alleviation from interest rate perspective, and we should continue to see home values go up because we've got low inventory. But people, please get your personal affairs in order and start living within your means. Quit using credit cards.